thumbs up to Mike anymore. Usually I can see him and give him a thumbs up, but I can't now. Hopefully.
I can give him a thumbs up.
Are we good? Yep. Good to go? All right. Call the meeting to order at 5:30. Reading of the district's promise statement. We promise to provide a supportive environment where unique learning experiences empower all for their chosen life adventure. Are there any additional items for the agenda? All right, if not, do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
That's Kendra Hain. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
That's Tim Melke. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Motion carries 6-0. Recognition of visitors and open forum. We don't have anybody signed up today. Okay. Reports and presentations. Deacon, you're up on the student representatives report.
So in Hanson's leadership class, we just finished our first book study on 5 temptations that leaders face that can make their group fail. And right now we're learning about how we make decisions and why. And then on last Friday, we had a student council meeting. And we went over what we're doing for Veterans Day. And we planned the drive-in movie for Homecoming. And we started talking about having a Snow Week dance.
Oh, okay.
So
How do you like the leadership class so far?
it's fun so far.
Good.
We have a lot of discussions, and that's kind of what I like more than just sitting there and researching.
Yep. Very nice.
They're in every other day. I see them.
Good.
And a lot of times they'll be in doing a discussion, and they're in Mr. Hanson's office, so he'll step out, check on lunch quick, and then back into the class. So
Okay.
they seem to be doing a great job.
Good. Yeah, I saw the drive-in movie thing. I thought, oh, that's a good idea. So, yeah, neat. Any other questions from anyone? Okay. Thank you, Deacon. Keep up the good work. Committee reports, Finance Committee. Do you want to present on that, or do you want me to just go through the?
You can go through it. and
All right.
I didn't take good notes last time.
We met after our last study session and discussed where the money was coming from all the ESSER dollars that we got, where we're putting it towards. And I did question one of the expenses on the agenda today called K-Log, and it's for these dividers, right, that are in there. So to kind of give more space to work in, and that was, ESSER funds are going towards that as well. The bond updates they gave on, that, so there's a new account at Janesville State Bank that will be putting the money in for the bonds to allow for more transparency there. And then we talked about the levy discussion on, like the tax impact on what that would be and when we want to decide on, the amount that we want to go with. And the interest income analysis, I don't remember what that was.
That was just kind of showing over the historical, how this year is way down because interest rates are
Oh,
so
yeah.
low compared to
Yep.
previous years, and,
Yeah, because of COVID and everything, so,
yep.
yep. Okay, that was about it.
Yeah, then
Anything
I-
else that I missed?
Yeah, the only other thing is that, Matt's gonna have, per se, a closer to updated financial report for us, based off of the audit that was being done, so that when we do decide what we wanna do for the levy, we'll have the most updated information.
Yep. Any questions? All right. Policy Committee. Well, I think we talked about that at the study session. Obviously, we reviewed the 510 policy, so I don't know if anybody has any questions on that. We didn't meet after that last discussion, so. All right, C, superintendent report.
For my report, I've been working through all of the new policies, trying to get them formatted on the website the right way. There are also policies that we have to go through every year as a school board. We're gonna have our first reading for 2 of them tonight that did have significant changes from MSBA. So, a lot of it is formalities. There's not much information changing in one of them. The other one, there is more information changing. And you'll see that as you read through it. I do have a couple questions from MSBA that I'm reaching out to them on, just with some wording on it. From what they sent us as a red line to what we put in there, and when you read it, it's a little bit confusing. So, I'm working with MSBA on that to see if that's the correct wording or if I'm just misinterpreting it. I'm working with the admin staff on their 21-22 school year goals. So that's something that we're working together on. And I'm excited for MEA this week to have a couple days just to be able to work in my office and not think about COVID and just to get some stuff done that I've wanted to get done for a while. I'll go right into the strategic plan report, and then I'll ask for questions. As far as strategic plan report, we're putting a committee together to look at ESSER $3 because we have to follow our strategic plan and do everything in there. There's ESSER $3, but we need a specific group of people to meet for ESSER 3. It's where we're seeing students struggling with test scores, and we're seeing them with students on IEPs and our free and reduced lunch population. However, those are 2 groups that are unidentifiable. So we can't just invite all of them to a meeting, because then they can identify each other as part of that group. So, working with the admin team to come up with a group that represents all of our students, and then working with how we can best use those ESSER $3 and also best work through our strategic plan.
I know when you and I had talked, you had asked the state that question. Did they ever get back to you with
No, they
what their
haven't.
recommendations would be then?
No, they've not gotten back to us with the recommendations. It's just do what you can, and it doesn't have to be people in free and reduced, but they have to be able to qualify for it. Well, you're still identifying them, so. But the admin team's helping create that list of,
Okay.
so we're getting a good representation of both, of all groups, so. Any questions for me?
On your update, you had talked about how the fax room may be delayed. Can you go into a little more detail on that?
Yeah, what it is there's a delay with some of the metal right now. They've started a lot of the work today, and they're saying that some of the metal that we need for the roof may not be here till mid-December. So they're gonna do everything they can up to that point, but they didn't know at this point if it would be a delay, make it, the project delayed a little bit or not, so.
So if it's just the roof portion, do we know, is that gonna delay moving Ms. Steinberg back into the classroom so that, like they were supposed to, so that we could do it over Christmas break, so that they could start up second semester, which I know is like roughly a week or 2 into January?
Right. So, yeah, we haven't heard for sure if that would delay them moving in, or if it would just delay them using the specific equipment, which wouldn't be used until second semester anyways. So hopefully we can get them in over Christmas break, have time to get them situated for when they come back in January.
Yeah, I guess it's a little, just from working in that area where, because we deal with getting steel and stuff like all the time, it's a little disappointing that they knew about this since spring, and they should have had that on order a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably off the coast of California.
there's different vendors out there too, because we've had to go through a lot of different hoops, but, okay.
So being that this is an issue for this project, did Sitelogic pretty much guarantee us that everything would be ready for our big project next summer?
Yes.
Oh,
That's why they're working hard to get everything pre-ordered and get everything ready for that now.
Okay.
Well, that's, and just reading down the life skills too, how they were supposed to tie into that sewer drain down there. And found out that that's
There's
not
a-
gonna work.
There's a crack in, or there's a joint in the sewer line that has come apart that they have to fix. Was my understanding late last week.
Yeah, I guess, I don't know, something like that. You know, usually a scope of lines you're tying into in old structures is step one, and before you even touch anything, so. The fact that just a simple little project like that wasn't figured out just makes me nervous for the bigger one. Their biggest thing was no or minimal change orders, and this is a very,
Right.
very small, simple project, and already we're getting an RFP for a proposal to fix something, so.
Totally understand, and I'm frustrated with it myself, so.
Any other questions? Okay. We'll go on to budget information, enrollment update.
Enrollment staying steady, same as it was last month. We actually lost 3 students in the elementary for a family that moved. However, we gained 3 students in the high school. So, same as it was last month, so.
How many students do we have remote learning? 100%?
100% remote learning, 0.
Oh, really? Nobody's,
We don't house them
Oh,
here
that's
anymore.
right.
They go through district.
do we know how many
288.
did determine that?
I don't, I'd have to look in to see how we would determine that, because they're not part of our district. Just looks like they are. I'll look into it more this week.
It's not a huge deal. I was just curious if you knew, top of your head.
Any other questions on enrollment? All right, historical cash balances. Any questions there? Okay. All right, if not, we'll move on to approval of the consent agenda. As always, anybody can pull anything out. Does anybody have any clarifying questions before we move to approve? All right, if not, do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
That's Tim Melky. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
That's Kendra Hain. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Motion carries 6-0. Old business. Approval of 4th reading of policies with substantial changes. Policy 510. Is there any further discussion before we move? All right, do we have a motion?
Make a motion to approve policy 510.2.
That's Scott Kaminsky. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
That's Tim Burke. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Motion carries 6-0. New business. First readings of new policies with substantial changes. Did you want to talk about either one of those?
The first one are just changes that MSBA has made. I did redline them, as you had asked. Basically, it's just taking the gender out and calling it a protected class. So all the way through, we've redlined the gender identity or expression and switched it to protected class. All the way through, those were the changes in this policy and these were recommendations from MSBA. A few other changes with the word discrimination also. But as we read through it over the next 2 times, if you have questions, please feel free to reach out and let me know.
Any questions on 413? All right. How about 524?
524, there were some additional changes, and Mike Bearding and I went through this one together. And we have a couple questions with MSBA for this. They come down, or they're down a little bit farther. You'll see them in here, where we have, the school district has a special interest in regulating. We want a little bit more clarification on the special interest part of it. So I want that clarified a little bit more through MSBA. And then in that same paragraph, if you read through this, it appears that we're going to be taking the writing of papers, the use of pencils, and the participation of other online school activities away from the kids. Well, I think it's just that there was a little bit of language in there that was missed. I think we just need failure to follow rules concerning the following. So it's concerning the following that is the issue. And it's aimed at threats and towards the teachers and other students. So we're not going to take that stuff away. We just need to know that it's not allowed to do. So just waiting to hear back from MSBA on questions we had about those. Other than that, the other changes were very minor in this policy. A lot of it was, instead of you have Minnesota statute and chapter, so it's just writing it all out now.
Any questions from anyone? Okay. 9B, record destruction report.
Record destruction report is, we have, down in storage, we have a number of boxes that can be destroyed. So according to the Minnesota Historical Society, we just need to have a document saying how many boxes we're destroying, what is in these boxes, and then we just have to keep a record of it that we're destroying them. If I remember right, there's 77 boxes that are being destroyed at this time.
Is that every year, or is this something that hasn't been done and we're like catching up?
This hasn't been done
Okay.
in years,
It's like,
so
that's a
we're
lot of
catching up.
boxes. Okay.
A lot of this material came or went down to the storage prior to the construction happening in 2014. So we're
Okay.
getting to it now.
All right. Very good.
So I'm guessing all that stuff has to be digitalized or whatever, so we keep a record of it in case somebody wants to go back and look at their 1942 transcript.
We have to keep all student records.
Yeah.
These are just like grant applications and
Okay.
building maintenance records, fixed asset records.
So a little bit different.
A little
than
bit
the
different.
Transcript,
So
okay.
you can still go find yours, Tim.
I don't want to find my transcript.
If you wanna look for your high school league or your high school records.
Mike, do you have anything to add to that because you're heading up this project?
Sure, I'll grab a mic so we can be heard here. Okay, so, yes, I managed to head up this project. So the school district back in 2014-ish, I think it was, had a document sent to the Minnesota Historical Society that was approved by the school board that said, yes, we are going to adopt the records destruction for school districts. So we just had a bunch of stuff in there. So things that we have to keep, they're listed in the schedule. So anything that maintains historical value, such as board minutes and annual or census reports past 10 or 1991 or something like that. There's a specific date, I don't remember it. But if you scroll down just a little bit, every single category has a different thing, or has a different code in there. So when you look at like finance, fin 00200, accounts payable, that's like old check vouchers and stuff that we don't need to keep according to the schedule. That was the majority of the stuff that was down there, was just stuff that we no longer need. And no, we don't have to digitize them if they're within the scope. So you can see the year that I stopped pulling boxes was 2014. That's because 2015 would still be within the 6 years required. So once this audit year is done, and then we move into the next 22-23 school year, we'll be able to destroy anything from 2015 in that particular category. Some documents, we would flip through the books and it'd say like fixed asset reports and special ed files. It's like those two things don't really go together. So there was a little bit of time, perusing through stuff. And then there's things like workers' comp that we have to keep for 20 years after termination or something like that. So it was a complicated process, but I think everybody is in line with saying we're going to start labeling everything as to when we can destroy it. So any questions?
So this will be something now that we'll try to do yearly to stay on top of it then, so we don't have such a big task?
That's the goal, yeah. So a lot of stuff down there is already labeled. So like when we look at payroll, they're already labeled payroll permanent, or bonds, or information on bonds, those are labeled. There's records, like we do have some student records that date back from the 40s and 50s that we could digitize. We do need to keep student records indefinitely, but we could digitize those and technically get rid of them. But it's one of those things, like it's one box at this point. Everything up to this point has been taken care of, except that one box.
Okay.
So then you're putting a destroy date on them as you put them away, so then you know when you
Yes,
come
that
across
would
that
be
date.
the
then-
plan.
Yeah.
Yep.
Unless I had to do that for Rotary too, and you gotta make sure you get the right date in there, because I screwed up on that a couple times too, but, yep. Good,
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Mike.
thank you. All right, 9C, assurance and compliance.
This is something we have to do for the state every year. It talks about our human rights coordinator, Title IX coordinator, 504 coordinator, and then which specific trainings we did, how many staff went through those trainings. So I filled all of that out, got that information from Wendy with who went through our mandated reporting training. Our last submitted harassment and violence policy. However, that one's under review right now, so that one will get updated again next year. And then by federal law and state law, we just have to make sure that the statements that the district complies with. So we have to go through and make sure that we're complying with all of these things, which we are. And then we send it off to the state. They send it back to us saying, okay, thank you. And we move on until next year.
Any questions? All right, we'll move on to 10, approve resolution accepting donations with many thanks. We have $250 from Casey's General Stores for an unspecified purpose. It's the Blackbaud Giving Fund, the donor. And then $750 from the JWP class of 2001 and that's for a scholarship. And then we have a $240 donation from Map More Trucking, and that was for free popcorn for all spectators at senior night volleyball. All right, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to pass the resolution accepting donations with great thanks.
That's Tim Melky. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
That's Kendra Hain. And Wendy?
Cahill,
Yes.
Kaminsky,
Yes.
Hain,
Yes.
Elke,
Yes.
Size,
Yes.
Burke.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0. All right. Upcoming meetings, November 1st is our study session, followed by World's Best Workforce, and then November 15th, our regular meeting. And we are adjourned at 5:50.